Okay, I'm going to talk about relationships. Not surprisingly, two sets of relationships were found to be critical for early career teachers' resilience, and they were personal, talking about family and friends, and professional relationships. And the professional relationships included the relationships with children or students and their parents, and also with peers and colleagues, and the latter includes with school leaders. We've found Gillian Jordan's notion of relational resilience quite helpful in understanding these relationships. And she talks about three characteristics of growth-enhancing relationships, and they are mutuality, empowerment, and development of courage. And I'd like to share a story with you today to demonstrate the latter, the development of courage. I'd like to talk about Julia, who was a young teacher who was sent to the northern suburbs of Adelaide to a school, and the northern suburbs of Adelaide are in a disadvantaged area, and the school that she was sent to is seen as a hard-to-staff school. So Julia went along, and to, I guess, complicate matters in a way, she wasn't given a mainstream class. She was asked to teach a special education class, a group of 12 children with a lot of special needs, and from years 5 to 7. This was totally new to her. This was her first appointment, and obviously it presented a huge challenge. Now, Julia tended to be isolated from the other staff purely because of this appointment. She found that she often was on yard duty, or she needed to track her children and didn't get to the staff room as much as other teachers. She also found that when she did, the stories that they were sharing were of their situations and were exclusive to Julia. So she didn't get a lot of support from the other teachers. The school leader, the principal, was supportive at one level, at a personal level. She would say, "Oh, he was nice to me," and he actually positioned himself as a father figure to her because he was a lot older. There wasn't a lot of professional support. And the other members of the school leader team were deputy and counsellor, and they would give support, Julia said, but often give mixed messages, so she wasn't sure what she should be doing. Now, where she did get support were from the parents of the children. They gave her a lot of encouragement and supported her, as did the advisor, the local education department disabilities advisor. And she, in fact, was the person who did develop courage, was encouraging rather than discouraging, using Gillian Jordan's terms. And just to illustrate an example here of how it was encouraging and developed the courage was where in the first interview, Julia talked about a situation where she had to administer medication to a child to avoid the child fitting, but was also told that there were severe side effects of the medication. So they were advised by the medical profession not to give the medication unless they really had to. And this one day, Julia was put in the position of either being with this child or going with the other children for their lunch, supervising their lunch. Julia had a school support officer with her to help her, and so Julia asked this person which would she prefer, and the SSO, the school support officer, said she'd like to go with the other children rather than risk being with this other child. And then the children apparently played up in the staff room, and Julia was then told off in front of her class later. And of course Julia found this extremely demoralising and disempowering, and was very emotional. And where she did get encouragement was from this advisor who came in and talked her through, sat with her in a meeting with the principal, and tried to support her in that way. The good thing about this was later on in the year when I talked with Julia and had the second interview, a highlight for her was where she was assertive with this particular member of leadership, where she was able to say, when it happened again, she was able to say, "Don't speak to me like that in front of the class, please. If you have to speak to me, do it quietly." And she felt really proud of herself for doing that. And I think that clearly demonstrates the role of the advisor in this situation, of developing Julia's courage. So it wasn't creating a dependency on her, it was actually creating a belief in herself and the courage to speak up and to be assertive. Thank you.